What is going on, guys? We are back. Today we are doing a carbon fiber hood restoration video. I'm actually currently doing it on my back roof wing too, so if you guys want to see that, it'll be on Instagram. So this hood is extremely faded. You can see it just needs to be refinished. It is from 2007 and it's really spotty. It's the clear coat, not the epoxy resin. If you guys have cracks like this one right here, that is in the epoxy resin. So that will not come out with just taking off the clear coat and then restoring the clear coat, because that's what we're doing in this video. If you guys want to see that, I will not have a video on that. You're gonna have to look at someone else's YouTube. Pretty much what you do is you take it down all the way to bare carbon fiber, and then you use one of those sponge brushes and you soak up the epoxy resin and you spread it across, and then you use a heat gun to take out the bubbles. And then you spray the clear coat on top. So that is a kind of a different video. Like I said, we're just taking off the clear coat and respraying it. So what we're gonna do first is use 800 grit sandpaper. So ideally you wanna use 600, but I'm going higher because mine isn't that bad. It's just the surface, and I know it's the surface. And if something does come up and I wanna sand even deeper, I can use that 600 grit, but I'm gonna start off with an 800. It's a little more time consuming, but that's how I wanna do it. Let's get right into it. So I'm trying to keep this video pretty short. What we're gonna do is just take off the hood pins. What you guys wanna do when you sand is you always want it to be wet. I heard and read on the forums that you're supposed to always wet sand carbon fiber. So that's what we're gonna do. We just have a bucket here. This is from doing the roof spoiler in the back, so it's dirty, but just always keep it wet. It should last a long time. Just periodically dip it in there. We're gonna be using the Sprayway glass cleaner. It doesn't have anything harsh in it. We're gonna spray this down, we're gonna prep it. It's already dirty, so we're gonna wipe it with a microfiber. And then after we sand, before we put on the 2K clear coat, the ones with the red tab in the top, we're going to use this again. Now let's hit it with the 800 sanding disc. So this is where I had a failed spot in the clear coat and I started sanding right here. So initially I was doing it with the 800 grit. It wasn't coming up, so I started using this 400 grit sanding paper. It's a little more abrasive than the 650 that you should do, the ideal for like most people, but it is coming up. With the 400, I'm being very cautious. I do not want to go into the epoxy or even worse, hit the weave of the carbon. So that was pretty much 30 seconds and that's what it looks like. So it is going to be time consuming. I'm wet sanding, and you do not want to use a power sander by the hard edges because it will burn through because they are at different slopes. It's really advised to do it by hand. I mean, you definitely can if you're really skilled at this, but I'm more than likely going to hand sand the whole thing. I'm gonna scuff this up where it's not bad because this clear coat's still good, but I'm still going to scuff it up and get it down to where I have everything else. You can feel the difference too. So I'm gonna do that and then respray the clear coat. So I just got done sanding all of the sunspots away. Honestly, it took about 2.5 days. It is a long time. Initially, I was using 800 grit, then I went down to 600 because 800 wasn't abrasive enough. And then 600 wasn't, so I went to 400. And that's pretty much what my hood needed. All hoods are different, I would assume. This is my first time ever doing this. I didn't want to burn through the carbon fiber. I was pretty protective over that. So this is what the hood is looking like. It is dry. So you can see it's extremely smooth too. Pretty much what you're going to do the whole time sanding is use water, and then when the water dries away, you want to get it wet again. The water is going to act as a clear coat, so that's pretty much what it's going to look like when you're done using the clear coat and you're done sanding. So if you have a spot and it looks hazy, like right here, you can see, I don't know if it's gonna pick up on the camera, but right here and right here, I still have to do. You wanna use the water so you can see those spots. When it dries, sometimes you can see it better, but using the water acts as a clear coat. So that's your guide. So what I'm gonna do next is get out all these spots. I'm gonna look through the whole hood and see the imperfections. And then I'm going to use roughly 800 grit, something higher, so then it smooths out all the fine scratches. It makes everything completely even because I used all the different sandpapers. This was the best sanding block I had. It's spongy, so it fits in the grooves and it can conform to all these contours. So that's the best one I had luck with. I used this one too, but it was way too big and it was too stiff. On these side raised areas, I just went ahead and didn't use a sanding block and I just used a piece of sandpaper. That seemed to work pretty well. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my last sanding, and then I'll see you guys tomorrow when we do the 2K clear coat. Okay, it is the next day. We sanded everything down with 800 grit and everything is smooth now. So one thing you guys wanna know is when your hood is wet, that is how it's going to look. So if you're satisfied with that, you're gonna be satisfied with the final result. So what I'm gonna do now is dry everything off and then use that glass cleaner from earlier and prep the hood. We're gonna be using this 2K clear coat. So this is professional stuff. You want to wear a paint mask. It's really recommended. This is the one I have right here. It's a full face one. So it's gonna protect me. And I'm gonna be downwind, so I'm not gonna breathe it in general. This, you're gonna take this red tab, you're gonna press it into the bottom, and then they're gonna combine and you wanna shake them. So it's like the best paint you can get, the best clear coat you can get, because it is pretty much what they're spraying out of a gun. So that's what we're gonna be using. It should protect the hood and it's gonna make it shine really well. So let's get cleaning. Okay, before we get painting, we are using the 11.8 ounce can. So there are like 10 point something ounce and they're like $2 cheaper, but I just got this just in case. So I'm gonna try to do 2 coats and use 2 cans. If I have left over, that would be great. We still have to do that back spoiler part, but I'm gonna go for 2 coats and see how that goes. So what I'm gonna do is spray down 1 coat, let it flash for 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, depending on if the sun's out, and then hit it again. And you wanna do like a 75% overlap. So you wanna do a pretty nice first coat, but you don't want runs. So you don't wanna do too heavy. So like medium wet, and then the second coat, you wanna do that 75% overlap, but more of a medium to heavy coat. So it's more thicker, and you'll have less runs if you did the first coat pretty well. Okay, we're back a day later. It's been 24 hours. So this is how the hood is looking. So we're gonna take it a step further and we're going to wet sand it. So you can either do 1500 grit or 2000. I'm gonna actually start off with 2000. I know I've been saying 1500, but 2000 because I've never done this before. All this haze and this texture on the hood, we're going to wet sand that out. If you have little particles, that'll come out. And then after the wet sand, we're gonna dry it off and then we're going to buff and polish it. I already let my sandpaper soak. Again, I'm starting off with 2000. So I'm just letting it soak. And then we're just going to wet sand it. Got done doing the 2000 grit and you can feel that the hood is so much smoother. So that's gonna take away all that overspray and all that. And then after that, we are going to be using this ultra cut compound. So this is Meguiar's and it's a 105. It'll cut and remove the 1200 grit or finer sandpaper. So we were using 2000, so we're good. 1200 would be way more abrasive and it would go by quicker. What I did with the 2000 is I just lightly went over it and it took away everything. And then I just went over with my hand and I felt it and it's smooth. So it does look hazy and that is fine, that's normal. Everything's gonna come out when we buff and cut it. So we're gonna use this, the 105, and then after we're gonna polish it with a wool pad and we're gonna use this show car glaze. Should work great, let's get to it. That is the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you leave a comment down below. I learn a lot from your guys' comments and hopefully other people can too. So we will be working on the Eclipse in the next couple videos. That's what we plan to do. We actually plan to do a paint preparation video. So we're gonna sand the car down and get it ready for paint. I'm curious what you guys are gonna think about the color. It's gonna be really cool. So if you guys want to see more content, make sure you subscribe. See you guys in the next one.